Today, I'm going to give you one tip for better drum parts, and it works on any drum machine or even with a real drummer. Freebeat. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Freebeat, where I post new music-related content every single day, so if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Today's patron shout-out goes to Jean-David Palmer. Thank you so very much for the support. Let's get started. So if you don't know, I am a drummer. I've been a drummer for over 20 years, both as an amateur and professionally. And since I got into electronic music a couple years ago, I've started figuring out how to transition my skills from behind the actual drum kit into an electronic drum setting. And when people ask me for easy tips or advice or anything like that, one major tip comes to mind, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. The tip is simple. Remember, a drummer only has 4 limbs, and a lot of times the left foot is only used to open and close the hi-hat to provide a little extra feel from the hi-hat pedal, the little chip of it, or if they're playing a double kick drum pedal, then a drummer, of course, can also use their left foot to play the other kick. But for the most part, it's really 3.5 limbs. You're really going to worry about the right foot going to the kick drum, and then the 2 hands playing around the other pieces of the kit, the hi-hat and the rest of the cymbals, crashes, rides, splashes, etc. And of course, the snare drum and the toms. And the tip is simply to keep that in mind when you're sequencing your drum parts or writing them, and play around that. If that makes sense. So let me give you a very basic example. Let's come up with a super simple drum part. I've got the synth drum deluge here to demonstrate because it's really easy to map out drum parts, but this will work with any drum machine. This is more just something to practice as you're writing your drum parts on any machine or with a real life drummer. So let's pull up a drum kit. I'm going to go to number 10. It's my favorite. We've got 16 steps here, by the way. So we are going to go doom, da, doom, doom, ga. So there's our kick drum. Second row is going to be the snare drum. Just beats 2 and 4. And let's put 16ths all the way across on our hi-hats, which as you can see is row 3. Now there's actually, in my opinion, a pretty crucial error with this drum pattern here. And if you're not a drummer, you might not immediately see it. But if we remember how a drummer's limbs are divided around the kit, it might become a little clearer to you what's wrong here. So the kick drum is fine. That's a very playable pattern by a very real person. The snare drum is also fine, beats 2 and 4. However, that is taking up one of our hands, and we have one hand left. Now you might assume it's going to the hi-hat. However, this is super fast. I'm going to mute the other 2 pieces to be playing one-handed by a drummer. Is it impossible? No. There's plenty of drummers who can do it. I could probably do it, but it's hard to sustain perfectly for a long period of time. More commonly, this pattern would be played with 2 hands on the hi-hat, and then anytime a snare hit pops up, a drummer would take one of their hands off the hi-hat to hit the snare drum, meaning that we wouldn't have a hi-hat and a snare drum hit at the exact same time on the same beat. So in order to make this drum pattern a lot more believable, we simply have to remove the 2 hi-hat hits that are happening simultaneously with the snare drum. Just like that. It sounds silly because it's such a small thing. However, I promise you it will make a lot of difference when you're actually trying to work on proper full written drum parts. The same thing goes for fills. So I know if I scroll up here, I've got 3 toms. So let's say we want to put a little tom fill in here. Again, we would want to make sure that both of our drummers' hands are freed up to play these toms here. And the way we do that is by removing these 3 hi-hats, which are taking up one of our 2 hands that we need. When you start thinking like this, it actually opens up different avenues for sounds too, because all of a sudden, beat 4 here, which starts right here, starts to feel a little weird. There's this kind of disconnect. It just goes snare drum and then nothing, just 3 toms. So, since we're not playing the hi-hat, what if we put an open hi-hat right here on the downbeat of beat 4 to let it ring out and be open while we still have a hand free on the downbeat of beat 4 before we need both of our hands to play this little tom fill. Let's have a listen now. How much better does that sound? Also, if we scroll back down to the kick drum here, we do still have that right foot on the kick pedal open. So we could put it right here on the end of beat 4. By the way, here at Freebeat, we count through our 16 steps as 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. Let's have a listen now with the kick drum added on the end of beat 4. Kind of awkward. It really emphasizes this middle tom here. So what if we make our listener used to it by actually putting it right here on the downbeat of beat 4 as well? So then, doong, dat, doong, 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 doong would be our kick drum part. Let's mute all of our other sounds here real quick and have a listen to just the kick. That's a cool little pattern. It's basic, but it might be just the inspiration you're looking for to maybe start your bass line, writing your actual melodic bass line around that part. Anyway, let's have a listen now to the full pattern with that extra kick in there. As you can tell, there are a lot of different little variations you can come up with that drastically shake the mood up of the pattern just by changing the kick drum around. Just the placement on the last beat there, beat 4, all 4 of our principal steps of it. So I know obviously not all of you are drummers, but if you can try to think just a little bit more like a drummer, specifically remembering that drummers are human and have 4 limbs, and one of those limbs really just is stuck on a hi-hat pedal most of the time. If you can start to think like that just a little bit, I promise you your drum parts will start to feel a lot more human and a lot more playable. And with the exception of just a few genres, I think having a believable drum part is a very, very important step that a lot of us should take when working on electronic music. I do hope you found this video informative or at least entertaining. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it. If not, you can always leave a dislike. That's okay too, doesn't hurt my feelings, just makes me try that much harder next time. Either way, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Thank you all so very much for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.